Steve, what on earth are you doing?
Karl, on the show today we're cooking salmon, and I wanted the right gauge of aluminum foil.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Steve. Why do you always have to go so over the top with everything? It's only a bit of aluminum foil.
No, Karl, it's actually called aluminium foil.
Oh, excuse me, it's aluminium foil, is it? No, it's not. It's aluminum foil.
Karl, where I come from, we speak the Queen's English, and it's called aluminium foil.
Oh, where you come from. Yes, where you come from.
Yes, where I come from.
You come from Mount Pearl.
Yum, 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 yum.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of One Chef One Critic. I'm Karl Wells, food critic for The Telegram.
And I'm Chef Steve Watson of Central Dairies.
Well, Steve, since we have all of this tin foil here, perhaps we should give some of the do's and don'ts of cooking with foil.
Absolutely, Karl, but one of the myths that is out there, what do you use? Do you use the shiny side or do you use the dull side? Actually, it doesn't make no difference. It's just the way it comes off the machine.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
that's news to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when baking casseroles and things like that, what I also do, to get a really tight seal, I'll put some cling film over the top, then I will wrap it with the foil as well. That really gets a good seal in there.
And so the saran wrap won't melt?
No,
because
it will
it's
not
protected
at all.
by the
It will
foil.
protect it, yeah. And another thing, never use aluminum foil in the microwave.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Safety first.
great tips. Now, coming up in the program today, we have as our special guest Chief Bill Janes of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. He's a career officer who worked his way up through the ranks, and no doubt he's got some interesting stories to tell. What are we going to be making with the Chief today?
We're going to be making a salmon wrapped in aluminum foil and baking it in the oven.
And Adam Blanchard of Five Brothers Cheese is with us today. Adam also happens to be a trained chef, and he's going to do a fabulous appetizer for us, so stick around. For a complete listing of One Chef One Critic recipes, wine lists, and more, check out our website. Let us know what you think of the show at 757-9600. And we are back with Chief Bill Janes of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think we've got some seafood today for the Chief.
Indeed we do, Chief, and what we're going to be doing today is baking some salmon in aluminum foil, and then we're going to be popping that in the oven. It's going to take about 20 minutes to cook once it's in the oven, but I'm going to get Karl to grill some beautiful baby reds and new potatoes there as well. He'll grill them off for us, and let's get started.
I hope you like salmon.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, most Newfoundlanders like salmon.
Okay, I'll just put a little bit of coleslaw on the bottom of mine, and you can do the same thing and put it in the centre of the aluminum foil there. There we go.
So is there any difference now between an Atlantic salmon and a Pacific salmon?
Basically, it's the feed, and when you cook it, you'll find that it's the Pacific salmon is very, very red. And once it's cooked, it will turn white.
Okay.
And this one here will retain that colour, so to speak.
And Atlantic salmon tastes better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
It has better flavor.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah.
And I'm going to make a little bit of a concasse to go over it as well. I've got some chopped plum tomatoes there, some chopped red onions, and I'm going to put some fresh herbs on it, a little bit of olive oil, some seasoning, and I'm just going to let that marinate for just a couple of minutes. So.
And I've drizzled some olive oil over these spuds, and now I'm going to sprinkle some salt. That's sea salt, isn't it, Steve?
It is correct, yeah.
And some pepper over them. Chief, I guess, you've been with the force for 29 years, almost 30 years. You've seen a few changes in your time. Just
Certainly
talk a little bit about that.
I guess one of the areas I've seen some changes in specialization. You're looking at things like video analysis and computer forensics that weren't there 29 years ago. And the globalization of policing, where crime crosses borders, like organized crime and computer crime, computer fraud, internet child exploitation, a lot of cross-border crime that we didn't have in the past. It was more localized years ago.
Yeah. I go to England fairly often, and one thing I've noticed over there is the CCTV cameras everywhere. I mean, you can't
go nowhere, can you?
Put one foot in front of you without seeing one of these cameras. I happen to think that's a great thing. I feel very secure when I'm over there. I know that these things are are meant to catch the bad guys, and I think they're very effective in doing that. I know you've been experimenting with cameras on George Street. How's that turned out?
Yeah, we've had that in place for about 3 years now. We work with the Privacy Commissioner and the George Street Bar Owners Association and the city and put it in place there. And what we're looking at is that it deters some crime. As well, it makes people feel safer. And thirdly is that it provides evidence in the case where we do have a crime, and what we call it is the sober silent witness. And there aren't too many sober witnesses on George Street, so it's nice to have one.
Exactly.
Has there ever been any thought of expanding that program and maybe putting these CCTV cameras in other parts of the city?
Well, as an organization, we're intelligence-led, so we take the information that comes in and we make the decisions in terms of deployment, whether it's deployment of police officers or it's a deployment of this type of equipment. So we studied the areas that we have that we police, and George Street was the perfect fit in terms of the number of calls for service, in terms of the tourism, and then the industry where we have conferences here in the city. So it's an important location for us to make sure that we're providing the best service we can.
Exactly.
So the information and intelligence we had brought us to putting it in that location.
What I'm going to do, I've got this marinated now. I'm going to put it straight on the top of the salmon, like so, and I'm going to get you to do the same with that one. And then we're going to wrap the salmon up in the foil. So there you go, Chief.
Thank you.
Very good.
So when you were growing up, did you want to be a policeman when you were a little fella?
No, I can't honestly say I did. It was something that came to me in my late teenage years. And I guess you're wondering what kind of career would be suitable for you.
That's right, yeah.
And I decided it was the right choice for me.
So that's great there. Then we can just wrap it up a little bit like this, and then we're going to be putting some fish stock into there. Where does the mounted police fit into the RNC? Is it a goodwill? Is it community? Is it?
Well, there's a number of purposes. A lot of it is goodwill in terms of getting out there in the community and being part of the community. They serve some other functions that might be for crowd control in certain circumstances, say like George Street we spoke about earlier. A really good tool for ground search and rescue. You have elevation so you can see, you're very quiet so you can hear, so it's great for ground search. And there's a lot of practical applications for it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Thank God the cruise ships comes in as well.
Yeah, it's great. Also, tourism is part of our economy here.
Absolutely, yeah.
We don't have that many riots here, so
no, that's right.
It's a good
Good
thing when I use them for events like that. Did you have becoming chief as a goal when you were working your way up through the ranks?
I would say that your goals and what you see your career changes over the years. You know, as a young officer, you're focused on going out and doing that frontline work, and you don't really think that way. But as 20 and 25 years pass, then it becomes more of a possibility and a reality, so you start to think that way then. But certainly not in the early years, no, I didn't think that way.
I think it's fair to say, though, that the job has become tougher and more dangerous than it was maybe 30 years ago?
I would describe it more as rewarding if it's what you're cut out to do. Like some people may consider it to be a tough profession. But if it's what you're meant to do, then you'll be able to get past those types of things.
Embrace it.
And embrace that and enjoy that as part of the challenge of the work. But then you find it rewarding because of what you're able to do for the community, for the people who are vulnerable people. They're the ones we're called to help. So it's,
But people are now, perpetrating crime with lethal weapons, and that seems to be happening more these days than it did years ago. Am I right in saying that, or is it just that it's being reported more? Where there are always people holding up convenience stores with knives and guns or what have you?
Well, in terms of, you talked about armed robberies, and our statistics show that the number of armed robberies that we've been responding to has been consistent over the last 5 years.
I see.
But what happens is that you hear about it more because there's greater connectivity. In terms of, like, we have a Facebook account and a Twitter account and our website and the media following it, and us providing nightly reports to the media, which we didn't do 5 years ago. So it's part of being open and transparent as an organization.
Exactly.
People hear and see more about what actually happens.
Yeah. Now, I notice there's a lot of women in the force these days. That wasn't something that you saw years ago. What's been the encouragement for women to join up?
We do have some activities that we do specifically focused to hiring women and attracting them to the profession. But what it does is it provides diversity, which is very good for any organization because you make better decisions and you do better work because you have diversity.
Yeah.
But as well, you need to be reflective of the community that you police. And 50% of the people in our community are women, so we need women police officers to police our community.
Yeah. And of course, they're trained right here in St. John's.
Yeah.
There was a time you had to go away, I believe.
That's right.
To do your police officer training.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We do that. It's a partnership we have with Memorial University, and there's 3 semesters, 2 at the university, where they provide courses in things like ethics in policing and the relationship between police officers and victims,
Right.
and charter case law and those types of courses. And then there's the 3rd semester, which is, I guess, the hands-on practical driving a car, shooting a firearm, the practical hands-on type of policing in the 3rd semester. So it's a great program, and we're always looking for bright young Newfoundlanders and Labradorians to come join us.
Well, hopefully there'll be lots of them out there to join up someday.
Yeah.
So what we have to do now, Chief, we're just going to put a little bit of fish stock into there as well, and then we'll just wrap that up. You just wrap that up like so, and then we'll be popping that in the oven. So all those flavours are going to encapsulate in there, and I'd say it's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes in the oven. So.
Yours looks a lot better than mine.
Oh, it looks beautiful. It looks
Yeah, but don't we open it? Hang on,
They'll taste the same?
Hold it. I just noticed something, Steve.
What's that?
There's only 2 packages.
I know.
What about me?
What about you? We have a very special one for you, Karl. How does that sound?
You'd better. Okay. On that note, I'm going to leave and see if we can get a bottle of wine to go with this. Okay.
No
I'll be
problem.
back.
Thank you. Chief, if you just want to stand to one side,
Sure.
we will surprise him because we do have 3 already here. Because I'd hate him to go to be barking at me and all that kind of thing. So.
And there she is.
Hi, Karl.
Hi, Andrea. Well, pretty straightforward dish today. We've got salmon in little foil. We'd say en papillote, I guess, if we were talking about
En tin
parchment.
foil.
En tin foil. Yeah. little salmon parcels baked today. Straightforward dish. Probably straightforward wine choices.
You'd almost think that you'd go white right across the board, but we've almost got a little bit of Italian direction leaning because he's got oregano, he's got thyme, he's got some tomatoes and olive oil in there. So we've got 2 Sauvignon Blancs and a Chianti. Choice today. So what we are looking for is a little bit of acidity. Salmon is a heavier, fattier dish. You've got the tomatoes, which are going to give a lot of brightness, citrus juice and things in the dish. So you don't want anything too flat or round or juicy because you've got that acidity in the dish that you need to balance. And of course, nothing too heavy that's going to eclipse the salmon either, where it's, it is a fish after all. First one I have is Emiliana. This is the Novas line. This is Sauvignon Blanc from Chile. And I visited this winery, as you may recall, last spring, and that it's biodynamic, organic. They have llamas, they have chickens and roosters and everything running around that actually eat all the bugs, and really, really interesting. So a lovely place, and they produce beautiful wine, great price points. This one is 17.
Good.
I also have the Peninsula Ridge. We're going to Canada now. So Niagara Peninsula Ridge. This is the McNally Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc. So whereas this one has a little bit more bright acidity, this is just a little bit softer on the palate, but still all those lovely, grassy, herbaceous notes that you expect in a Sauvignon Blanc, which are going to go nice with the herbaceousness of the dish as well. That one is 15. And then we have the Chianti. So this is a Toscolo Chianti, so like all Chianti is 100% Sangiovese. Chianti is known to go with pasta and tomato sauce, so all those things that are in the dish, it's going to go nicely. Nice bright acidity, lightweight wine, not too much tannin, so it's not going to eclipse the salmon, and that little bit of fattiness that's in the fish is going to go lovely with the Chianti as well.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to go with the Chilean, the Novas, just because I liked your story, but also because I love Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, and this is delicious.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks, Andrew.
Now we'll just peel the foil back there and look at all the beautiful juices in the salmon there. We'll pop that onto the plate and we'll keep it in the foil for presentation, and let's hope that Karl hasn't got arrested yet, so let's go and see the Chief of Police and Karl in the dining room.
And there we are. That should go nicely with our salmon, which I must say turned out beautifully, at least visually. Why don't we taste it, Chief?
Sounds great.
See how this salmon en papillote, I think
Yes,
that's the
indeed.
expression,
pastes. Nice and moist.
Good Atlantic salmon.
Good Atlantic salmon, as Karl rightly pointed out.
Well, not only is there moisture around it, there's also, more importantly, there's a lot of moisture in it. Sometimes you get things and there's a lot of moisture around them, but all the moisture's gone out of the actual product. Chief, I just wanted to ask you before we go, tell me about the kinds of programs that the RNC is involved with in terms of preventing crime and educating the public, be it youth or anybody really, about the kinds of things that you do and the programs you offer.
Sure, and they all are focused on youth. There's a drug awareness program that we provide to grade 6 students, and then there's a program for grade 7 students in terms of violence prevention in the school system. And then there's a computer safety program as well. So we look at violence, drug use, computer safety, and trying to give the students, I guess, and the young people some guidance to send them on the right path.
What are, do you ever do any of that yourself? You probably did when you were in the regular ranks. You did some of that sort of thing, visiting schools and so forth.
Very little of it. Well, a lot of my career was in the area of drug enforcement and frontline policing and that sort of thing. But it's.
I was just wondering, like, what kind of questions do kids ask of police officers these days? Like a young person in grade 6, for example, what would they be interested in knowing?
It's you sort of have to put yourself in their shoes and in the world they're living in and their current reality, which is a lot different than our reality was when we were in grade 6. Yeah. So the level of questions that you hear from are actually a lot higher than you'd expect, and they have a very good grasp of what is happening in their community and in their schools.
Yeah. When I used to go out and visit schools a lot too when I was doing the weather on television, and the question I was always asked was, how much money do you make?
And he earns lots.
Speaking of which, what's the salary like these days for police officers? Is it pretty good?
So it's certainly enough that you can feed your family, put a roof over your head. And,
I bet it's better now than when you started.
It certainly is.
What are some of the things that you do to kind of kick back and relax? You know, you have to, in a job like yours, which I imagine is a certain level of stress, a higher level of stress than most jobs, you have to really make use of your downtime and protect it. What kinds of things do you do to relax?
Well, exercise is very important, and I spent 25 years of my life involved with the Royal St. John's Regatta as a rower.
Oh, really?
And it's great to keep fit and to relax, and as well you make a lot of really good friends over the years. So it's been a big part of my life.
I hear through the grapevine that you like to golf.
Yeah, okay.
Try to golf. You're like me.
I'm not a golfer.
Okay, yeah, neither am I. Yeah, as a matter of fact, most people don't want to golf with me because I'm so bad. But is that about it? You don't, oil paint or do anything like that?
I seem to have put some of these things on the back burner in terms of, like, for my retirement, in terms of painting or in terms of cooking and those types of things. And you have to leave some things, I guess, for the future. And when you have a busy present.
Yeah.
Indeed, you do.
So what about young people who may be thinking about joining the police force? Would you advise them to go for it? And
certainly, yes.
Yeah. Is there a certain kind of set type who's best suited for that type of work, or?
Yeah, well, you're looking for generally outgoing people who are good communicators, who value their place in the community, do some volunteer work, and who are just good persons, generally good people.
Well, Chief, it's been delightful having you on the show. You've been a fabulous guest, and thank you for being here.
I've enjoyed it. It's great.
Cheers.
And coming up next on the program, we have Chef Adam Blanchard, who is from Five Brothers Cheese, and he's going to make an appetizer using pork, so stick around. Five Brothers Cheeses has been making artisanal cheeses in Newfoundland for many years now. It became an instant hit with foodies and many chefs in Newfoundland and Labrador who use Five Brothers cheese in their recipes. Now, the founder and head cheese maker of Five Brothers Cheeses also happens to be a trained chef. And he's with us now. Welcome, Adam Blanchard.
Thank you, Karl.
So I assume
perfect.
you're going to have cheese in this recipe.
Absolutely.
So what are we going to be making?
Today we're going to be doing a little appetizer dish that the viewers at home can do. It's fairly simple. We've taken a piece of pork and we've slow cooked it for about 12 hours.
Okay.
So it's nice and pulled and tender. We're going to put that in a phyllo pastry cup.
Okay.
And we're going to add the sour cream on top.
Okay. So you cooked that for about 12 hours, you say?
12 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
We put it in for the rub for about 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then we slow
Nothing
cooked
nicer than slow cooked pork.
Yeah, especially if it's the shoulder, right?
Yeah.
You've got all that fat content coming
Slow cooked beef is good, but pork just seems to take to slow cooking really, really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the fat content or something, but the flavors are amazing.
And we do pulled pork sandwiches at St. John's Farmers Market every Saturday.
Oh, do you really?
Oh.
Yeah.
So this could be a nice little hors d'oeuvre if you were having a dinner party or a cocktail party.
Absolutely.
Just put some of these on a tray and serve them. And I guess the phyllo is not that difficult to work with, really, is it?
No, it's fairly easy. It's something that viewers can find in the frozen food sections of most grocery stores. And
This
what
is it
we've
here.
done, we've sliced up a few pieces there, and I'm going to show
How to put
quickly just how to get it prepared.
Yeah.
So a little bit of butter that we've melted.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
just,
You don't make butter, do you?
Not yet. Okay. Maybe someday.
I'm going to say, I hope that's Central Dairy's butter. We have a marriage of two dairies here.
I see, so you just crisscross it a little bit.
Crisscross it a little bit.
Yeah, so give a little bit of depth to
okay,
it,
yeah.
yeah.
And then we're going to take it and we're going to gently, because
Push
it
it
is
into the,
very delicate.
That's like a cupcake tin.
Absolutely. Muffin tin, cupcake tin. I'm sure your
Yeah.
viewers have a few of these kicking
Oh,
around.
absolutely, yeah.
And then
just
you
bake
put
that?
bake that in the oven for at 350 for about 5 minutes until it's golden brown.
Done.
Done.
And then
So-
you have something like this.
So what garnish do we have for this?
We're going to have a salad going with this. I've put the sour cream and the crispy shallots on
Okay.
top. So we're going to assemble our salad. We've got some lovely arugula with some Newfoundland pickled chanterelles.
Oh, you pickled them, did you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Some toasted walnuts.
Excellent.
Some Five Brothers cheddar.
Oh, very nice white
Oh.
cheddar. Yeah.
Now this is a different type of cheddar. This is a farmhouse cheddar.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
your traditional. It's crumbly. It's got a little higher moisture content.
Okay.
It goes great with various.
A little salty, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's something that I like to make sure that the flavors there is a nice salt content.
Nicely seasoned, yeah.
And then we have a maple vinaigrette that we're going to dress.
How long would that cheese have been aged?
That'll be aged for 3 months.
3 months. Okay. So
Oh, that's not that long.
No, it's still a fresh, mild cheddar.
Yeah.
We do various types. We do the farmhouse here. We also do a smoked cheddar.
Now, the cheddar cheese that you see in the supermarket sometimes that's orange in color, is that a coloring agent that's introduced?
It is. It's like food coloring.
Okay.
It's cheese coloring, and it's added at a certain time in the process to help with the color. Because
But in a blind tasting, I bet you probably couldn't tell whether it was the colored type or the white.
no, you're right.
Yeah.
There's no real added benefit to.
It's like brown eggs and white eggs. I think brown eggs are nicer and taste better, but apparently it's all in my head. Like a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
So there it is. That's wonderful. What did you use the crispy shallots?
Crispy shallots are on top of
Oh,
the
sorry.
sour cream there.
Now, to do a crispy shallot, how do you do that? Is that like oil in a frying pan? Or?
Oil in a frying pan, and I dredge the shallots in some flour and
Okay.
fried them off.
Okay.
Very
Well, I'm going to taste this.
absolutely dig
And
in.
before I bite into this, that's it for this edition of
One chef.
One Critic. Thank you, Adam.
Thank
That's
you.
Great.
Go ahead, Karl. Go ahead.